Today we're debunking health myths like don't read in the dark or go swimming right after you eat. How do you know what's truth or myth? Joining us now is psychologist and podcaster Dr. Dan Baughn. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Gayle. Great as always to see you again.
Thank you. So first we need to start with how health myths begin, because boy, are they out there. I mean, I think of so many that my beloved Nana Katie used to share with me that I later found out weren't necessarily true.
Absolutely, right? So, I think it's important to chat about how these things start, is that there's usually a little bit of like some truth to it, or something that kind of feels like maybe some intuition, or something that just sounds like something that just kind of makes sense overall. So it's important that that's really the core part of where these things start, is that there's usually a teeny tiny shred of truth to them. It's just once we dig deeper, that's when we start to understand, like a common one I see in sleep is that I have to have 8 hours of sleep, when that's actually not true. So your sleep is pretty variable. So
okay, that's good to know. So second, challenging a myth can be hard. It takes a lot of energy, but you really have to learn to do that.
You do. So this is a part where I think it's really important to understand, what is your brain really doing? So your brain loves to, when it sees something new, it loves to kind of grab onto it pretty quickly, especially if it feels true or feels kind of accurate. And so your ability to kind of say, you know what, I just want to be curious about something, but maybe not necessarily fully believe it yet, that's a skill that takes time to kind of build over time. So that's one of the things that you really want to do is kind of say, what is this thing that I'm kind of learning right now?
Okay, and then you also say the key to debunking health myths is to be, you have to practice being skeptical.
Yes, absolutely. And really, what we mean by skeptical is just saying, okay, let me just be curious about this thing. And a common way of doing that and being kind of skeptical of things is trying to say, okay, number one, is this information or this thing that I'm learning, has it been, is it something that's supported by maybe other scientific organizations or other, medical professionals or other individuals who've done a little bit of research in this area? And then number two, it's also kind of comparing that with, other bits of information that you're learning. Because your brain by default is not going to challenge something that we already kind of hold near and dear, right? Like you mentioned earlier, if a family member's told you something, you'd be like, well, yeah, of course I want to believe that. And for the most part, it's not that people are trying to intentionally mislead us sometimes, but sometimes some of the old old wives' tales or other things like that we kind of get told and get passed down, we really have to be a little bit more curious about, what, I wonder if that's still actually true, or I wonder if there's some new information about that. And helping you to be more open to that is really a key skill that you can learn.
And we all are Dr. Google. There's no doubt about it. We like to go on and do all of our own research. And I have found, especially when I was wearing my journalism hat in the news days, when you're looking at a study, you really need to see like who's funding the study, how many people participated in the study, because all studies are not created equal. And if you're not finding it from a reliable source, you could very well be led astray.
Yep, 100%. So, this is part of how the scientific process kind of works, right? So studies come out, studies also, new results come out and really challenge what the prior results really were. And so it's really important to have more than one data point is really kind of the take-home message on that. So you're looking for things that say, okay, there's been multiple studies that have come out and have a consistent kind of idea around this. The other part to really be kind of curious about is that, sometimes our information on stuff changes. And that's okay. Like, that's also part of kind of how research works and how medical professionals work, is that you're gathering this new information and kind of coming up with new conclusions once you have new data, too.
Okay, so I just want to ask on a personal level, one that goes back and forth, we joke about it all the time back in the day, is coffee's good for you, it's bad for you, good for you, bad for you. When it comes to sleep, because I know that, you're a psychologist, but sleep is your specialty.
Sure, right.
Give us the guidelines on coffee and sleep.
Yes, so great question here. When it comes to coffee and sleep, I would say it is actually a helpful substance, in terms of helping you get up and starting your day. But I would say you probably want to ease off the coffee towards the middle to the end of the day for you. And that's primarily because of the impact that it has on your brain and on your sleep patterns. That being said, there's always exceptions to that too. So we can chat one time about the coffee power nap, because there's some really interesting research that suggests that you can drink some coffee and then take a quick nap, enough to kind of clear those adenosine receptors in your brain, and then wake up and the caffeine hits you and you actually get even more of a benefit from it from that perspective.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Another Baughn bonus. That's what we're going to start calling them. Dr. Baughn bonuses. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're
it's
welcome,
great
Gayle.
seeing you.